the invades. Look, Kyle is just taking so much damage from May.
Guys, we are kind of late, so we just go into the match quickly. The first game have started. Damn. I'm late.
Zipper, we need a replay of that. That was a beautiful fight coming out from GUANGZHOU. Like,
bro, GUANGZHOU are gapping FALCONS.
But keep your eyes here as May flickers out and baits the entire team into an unwinnable fight with Xing, making sure that Lantern Flare was up the entire way.
GUANGZHOU are gapping FALCONS. Bro.
By far a really good start.
I wonder what information and preparation they've done, because again,
hope you guys can hear me though.
You know very little about this team. Even the heroes that they've used in the recent qualifiers don't tell you much about their playstyle. But what has changed?
Wait.
Why have they seemed to adapt so well to the current
No,
meta?
I'm not behind. I'm not behind.
Having these heroes which FALCONS attempted to counter.
Well, I think, you know, it's a lot of research, and I definitely think, you know, the length of the MPLPH.
Bro, sorry, I have to set up a lot of
Here,
things.
when it comes down to the meta, that's what everybody's trying to figure out. What is not only the meta game for the game, but specifically for the tournament?
FALCONS Space versus GUANGZHOU.
But with the lead that they have 4-1, I'm expecting GUANGZHOU to play more reactively, right? They want to make sure they punish the Falcons everywhere they go. They need a man-to-man defense and make sure that Haji doesn't scale too fast.
And honestly, that tournament meta, I feel, is something we won't really get to figure out until maybe day 3 or 4.
I mean, we can speculate.
Because day 1, first 2 matches in series.
Hope you guys can hear me though.
So much
Bro, aren't you covering sponsors?
more unorthodox picks already.
Yeah.
That's true. We won't know until day 2.
Thanks for the reminder.
But in the meantime, you can see both teams high contention for this mid lane. It's less about the side lanes. The side lanes are kind of independent until we can get the mid trio to move in their direction. GUANGZHOU gonna take that first move as they send support to the top side.
Yeah, at least for FALCONS and their sides, they're doing really
I think it's
okay.
better.
It's a Brody and a Dairoth, which you pretty much expect to win their lanes, and so despite FALCONS not really winning out massively in terms of their mid, they're not really in need of that much rotations, but that's the thing. GUANGZHOU might just really take advantage of this entire situation, but it's already open here up top, already trying to somewhat provide a bit of help. Does catch Sai, but it's gonna be open all alone this time. Now he's trapped against 3. Do they have enough damage? Do they have enough burst? That's
if you'd like to win MSC, I don't think there are any favorites, bro. Bro, Spamako. Damn. Bro, China are gapping the Philippines. How?
No way! All the auto attacks just weren't big enough. He didn't have the physical damage. It is unfortunately, a magic marksman dependent on skill cooldowns and abilities. That's gotta feel so bad. When you thought you were about to kill him, guess what?
If you're right to win MSC, can be any team, bro. Any team.
So he was definitely left
But I think
all alone there.
the favorites might be Onyx.
For a bit longer than we expected him to, but
bro, the Chinese.
Even the coaching staff thought it was unbelievable for the second time around.
Bro.
Super Marco.
Bro, China.
Having a great time now.
China is gapping the Philippines. This is crazy, bro. No way.
We're not seeing FALCONS waste too much time here. If you notice at the gold lead, despite it being 2-7, for some reason it's only 900. By this stage, you're expecting somewhat of a 1K, a 2K gold lead.
Oh, Black
no way.
Out they get
bro, Haji is dead.
Another stun, forcing out
no.
the flicker. There goes Flap trying to defend it. They outplay May in mid. a small win for Falcons this time.
Really nice play coming in from Flap. as
Yo,
well.
Sky guy. Hope you can hear me. Hope you guys can hear me.
A lot, right? Why does Dyroth win up here to maybe try and help Owen and Super Marco? He reveals himself, but all of this is so that Kyle can scale up a little bit faster, taking the wave as well.
Yep. They're at least maybe trying to slow down a bit and maybe go for the farm, because clearly Guangzhou Gaming have taken charge of the early game, and that's exactly according to plan so far. So maybe less of the direct one-on-one counters, and now we see more of the
I'm so late.
5-on-5 rotations come into play. Recall though, very confident right now on this Nolan, forcing out the black shoes again.
Yeah, and honestly, there's no reason to actually contest for the turtle, because they know for a fact, hey, Nolan, his retribution is coming up, but without his ult, that's fine.
Okay,
That means he
Spamako
can't really
has
get in and out as
Sky
effectively.
Piercer.
But when they're rushing it down, that's where it gets scary, and now they look for the opportunity.
Alright, cool.
No Crimson Beacon left for XJ, but recall, he wins out on the objective yet again. Falcons now trying to go in. Kyle also
Bro.
using a Tempest of Blade. Super Marco joining in the fight.
Bro, China are throwing, bro.
And that's a huge mistake coming out from GZG. Falcons take advantage of the fact that they were just too close
Falcons
together.
are now
Three
the ones
people
with the
got
gold
caught
lead.
in the snare of the globules. The damage is good coming in from Recall. Ooh, Super
Bro,
Marco's
the
good.
damage
Okay,
from
he's
the
fine.
Nolan is crazy.
That was close though, and at least Falcons get a bit more space, because it felt like earlier they had to work hard for this space, and they had to juggle between switching lanes here and there just so they could really find some more objectives across the map. But even despite losing that
These guys
objective, and I believe
like the
that
stream,
was
by the
the
way.
second turtle that Guangzhou have already secured, they at least got a bit more map control.
And now the question is whether or not they've developed enough of a lead. And whatever they had before instantly dissipated in one singular fight. I love the fact that Haji is immediately going for that Wishing Lantern. It's perfect for getting rid of these annoying pokers like Mei, who wants to be in his face, or maybe even Modi, who again hasn't really been able to participate as much as we would like to see.
Yep, does run the Vengeance too, so we hopefully do get to see him later on in the team fights, because I feel like that will be a great help to Guangzhou Gaming in terms of actually getting the wins. But
Bro, Flap is dead.
getting bursted down here by Recall.
Damn.
Nothing that Flap could do. He flickers a little too late, and honestly, I think a lot of his abilities got cancelled out once he got spun into multiple directions. That being said, though, Guangzhou looking to try and take out at least one of these turrets, but they decide not to. They give up on it. They see Owen, and they're like, not again, not again.
Nope. This is such a statement you're seeing from Guangzhou, especially Recall 5-1-2 on the Nolan, when in fact it was a pick
China.
that was chosen last. You thought it was just some sort of pick that they were forced to pick up, but the Tempest of Blade just being forced out, and now Guangzhou just confidently standing in front of
China are gapping the
This is gonna be a really
Philippines,
awkward
bro.
position for Falcons, because again, they were the ones who wanted to play for the earlier stages. Now they're highly dependent on Kyle to finish up a lot of these fights, or at the very least, Owen to try and create that space. Because so far, Super Marco, he's not getting as many auto attacks as he would like.
Yep, now they're forced to group up. It's always just Kyle away from the team, and that's the kind of play that they're maybe forced to do at this point. But now it's different. There's an objective that's coming up. So Team Falcons would have to be very, very careful about this. Flap cannot go down first, similar to what has been happening a couple times already in this game.
That's going to be the Malefic gun purchase here. Now Super Marco has the range to start hurting people from afar. Question is, are they going to be able to get into the pit? Because Guangzhou, they've got a really good control around it. Oh!
Gwen
Oh,
goes
Gwen
in,
is
Gwen
dead.
goes in, but he gets bursted, and now the Zaman Force has a response to
True.
Versailles. They're just flushing Falcons out of this Lord pit, and they're taking control.
Jesus.
Black Shoes do
Haji
not
almost
by Recall.
died there.
Tempest of Blade, but can they get more? They find Mei, and that's
Nice.
gonna be a 1-for-1.
Not too bad, but the fight's not over just yet.
Bro, China are very
I understand
aggressive.
that, hey, all right,
Sky Piercer
they have
for
stuck a little too close together, but this time around they spread apart instantaneously as soon as they
the
saw
mage
Owen walk
of
it up
Guangzhou.
for a potential engagement. That being said,
Wait,
though, at least
Kyle is chasing. Whoa, nice catch, Kyle.
Where did he go?
Nice catch,
How
Kyle.
did he know? That was okay. I think Falcons now are at a much clearer advantage.
Well, they may be at a much clearer advantage, but I don't see this being a
Nice catch,
free
Kyle.
war just yet. Like, they're going to try for it, and I want to see what the response is going to be. Because for now, CY is in a pretty good
Illusionary
position to get that Holy Crystal.
Cap.
Okay, Falcons are starting
Oh,
this objective right now, but Owen has a good idea of
Bro,
where
he's
the
gonna take the
Lord is
Lord.
coming in.
Kyle.
securing it with their 50.
Nah, China has thrown the game, bro.
Zai already using the Zaman Force, but he
China
gets
has thrown the
bursted.
game.
It's a double
Wait, Kyle is recalling.
He's been waiting for this moment.
Yeah, he tried a little too hard. Modi,
That is
unfortunately,
recalling.
making the mistake, walking into the fight without the vengeance. And that stun from Super Marco is such an effective tool. If not, at least the mini stuns from both Flap and Ogwin. At this stage, Falcons, based on the items that they have, can really start pressing the advantage.
Yo, jeez.
Oh, fortunately, Haji got to quickly press
It's
on
Haji.
that black shoes.
Okay,
Mado looking in
he's
danger
dead.
and will go down in the hands of Team
Bro,
Falcons.
nah, it's
As
over.
Xying only has
It's
the Crimson
over.
Beacon
Super
out,
Marco
the
has
board is
like
still up.
3 stacks now, if I'm not mistaken.
Right now, Blue can kind of do whatever he wants as long as he doesn't get one shot, can ruin somebody's
Nah,
game.
the Nolan is dead.
Damage
Bro, the fade away
blasted from halfway
didn't go
across
through.
the map.
And the black shoes are back for Haji if in case Guangzhou actually forced that fight, but they're not really going to do so. They just focused on evening out majority of their resources across the board. That's going to be all out.
Bro, I won't be surprised if India actually takes a game of
Now,
Vitality
let's talk about how
or
they're
even
getting
win
this
the
right
entire
before
game.
this. Barely
That's
know.
one thing
A
most
lot
people
of
don't
team
know.
fights
Like,
keep
don't
hitting
underestimate
them.
your enemy, bro.
GZG, mega lead
Many
in
people
terms of
are
kills,
underestimating
but
India
doesn't
right
have
now,
that
bro.
5K lead like Falcons have right now with a singular kill.
Yes, Team
Well,
Vitality
this
has
is
the
about
upper
time
hand, like,
efficiency. With
by a
GZG's
huge
movements,
margin,
they're
but
sticking
bro,
together. Notice, top quadrant,
India,
all 5 of them are there. Nobody's dealing with that bot wave, and that's why
anything
Falcons
can happen
overall
in
macro
esports,
is more
so.
efficient gold-wise in comparison to GZG.
Yep, that's why even if you thought things were kind of slowing down, that was just Falcons playing their game, and now it's
Nah,
going to
the
be
Modi
Modi
is
by
dead.
Flap. Now that you see them grouped up, this is exactly how they want to utilize this lineup.
Yeah, and it's great because again, the one combination people don't think about is the shred specifically from Flap. If Flap and Marco work together, no matter how tanky you are, they're going to cut your armor in half, if not more, now that he has the Malefic gun.
Okay, conceal. Could there be another flicker play? And there you go, May! Barely surviving this. Winter Crown already forced out, and the flicker too. But
No
they
way,
just
nobody
want that
died.
base turret. Guangzhou are
Yeah.
not gonna force the chase.
That's
they
crazy.
They can't afford to. Unfortunately for
That's
Guangzhou
crazy.
Gaming, until Sai is, I want to say not just the Holy Crystal at this point, because Ogwin is too big of a problem. I'm trying to figure out how can they bait Ogwin out, or at the very least burst them down, both of which not very good ideas considering the priority list.
Because at this point, the only heroes from Guangzhou who maybe could go for some backline plays are just really Recall and Modi, or unless Xing just really wants to go full commit and Crimson Beacon in and they just all jump on Super Marco, but will that be worth it? Because at this point, again, the shred you mentioned, the armor just going down as soon as you approach these heroes who could deal massive damage and penetration, and not to mention an objective too coming up just in a bit.
Yeah, this is particularly tough. I will admit that at least for Guangzhou Gaming, they made sure that Haji slowed down, but now we're already in the later stages of this game. Slowing Haji down is not possible. He hurts.
Yep. And look at just how well they're guarding majority of the map right now, but Guangzhou are still pushing forward. Recall though is
Nah,
about
it's a good time to
show
take the
himself
Lord.
on top,
Like,
and that might be
the jungler has
enough
showed, right?
room for Falcons
Nah,
to be
they're
a
not
bit
taking
more
it.
aggressive with bursting down this objective.
Are they?
Oh, it looks like they're trying to sell this fight.
Oh, Ogwin and Flap trying to zone out
Yeah,
the
the Lord is
members as
gone.
Falcons just secure this objective. But
Wait,
Ogwin
why
still
did he
finds
still
one.
attach?
Do they wanna
It's
push
okay.
through with this fight, though? Haji
It's
providing
good.
the damage, and it's gonna be enough.
Damn.
Super Marco's already called a killing spree, and Kyle
Bro.
on the backlines, finding
Super Marco.
Xing as they take out 3. It's just Modi and Recall. There goes the fracture, but it's gonna
Damn,
be
Kyle is
okay.
just styling,
They've
bro.
been dancing around and they know they've got an endgame angle. Unfortunately for GZG, the biggest problem with their composition is they don't have the best wave clear. They have to commit a lot of bombs to make it happen.
And
Nah.
now surprised with yet another flicker, and Modi could not tackle the
Ogwin is
damage
going to enter the
anymore.
base.
It's
I am.
gonna be a near wipeout for
Nah,
Guangzhou
it's
Gaming,
over.
as Recall's the only one
The game
left.
is over.
He's trying to defend, but he can't.
It's
And
over.
Team
Nice.
Falcons
Falcons,
with a
game
10K
1.
gold lead, close out game number 1.
That was clean. I gotta admit,
It's
there
best
were
of
moments
3.
there in the early stages that I was worried for Team Falcons, but they showed their
the
experience
side
every
off to work, bro.
single time. If you're looking for the most efficient
All the best at
map
work, bro.
team for Golden EXP, these are the
Falcons
boys you need to
taking
look at.
1,
They
bro.
were untouchable, at least for the first few moments of the game. So much in the mid took place, but we kind of forgot about their sides, and a lot of how this game eventually would pan out revolved around whether or not the sides got the early that they wanted. At least for them, they actually did.
Well, I thought it would be a little bit more, to be fair, because these are like overwhelming odds with the Dairothn as well as
Nice
May.
cup.
And the patience from at least Haji for taking so much damage from May. You can see that in these clips, it's always May who's in your face in the early stages of the game, but it didn't tilt them, and they made sure to say, you know what? You're gonna man-to-man defense, we're gonna play your game, we're just gonna play it better.
Yeah, let's just go macro from this point onwards. Everything that they did was macro. And yes, GUANGZHOU, I think they were winning out big on kills, on team fights, on the smaller advantages on the map, but we don't really see them convert it into much. Like, they didn't really get as much map control afterward. They didn't really get to rotate into or convert it into more structures. Oh, that's us. Yeah, surprised of everything that's happening too, but that, I guess, just goes to show how, interestingly, Falcons just really turned things around in this game.
Yeah, it is great. It is great overall, but the question is, what is going to happen in game number 2? We're going to be throwing it back to the desk and see what they think about this.
Thank you, Gideon Brigida. Great cast on game 1. Falcons, PH find a way to get the win, and it was a win indeed. They dominated later on in that game, but it wasn't domination early on. You saw GUANGZHOU find a way to kind of surprise them in the beginning, and I think that group style of roaming the map helped them early on, but it started to show up as a weakness in terms of the gold and trying to claw back into that game later on, Rico.
Yeah, it was tempo control.
Yeah,
obviously.
revolutionary gun.
Early on, the Dairothn had her number, level 1, level 2, but then after that, Modi just constantly cleared out faster, rotated quicker, got that falling star moon set on 3, and unfortunately for Falcons PH, they got caught off guard. But after that, I think it's just signs of an elite team where they're losing early on. They lose out on almost all the objectives, kills as well. At a certain point, it was 2-7 on the scoreboard, but it was only a 900 gold lead for GUANGZHOU Gaming. So Falcons PH, even though they were losing, they had control over the game.
It never felt like it was an insurmountable issue going up against GUANGZHOU LFL. Falcons always seemed like they were in it.
I mean, like, I would say that is something that GUANGZHOU has to look forward to after this, because it's clear that they do have the mechanics, but how do they extend the lead? That is what makes you into a good team, into a great team. How do you make a 200 goal lead into 2,000, right? So I feel like they got very excited getting a few kills, especially around those objectives. But one of the clips we saw earlier was how the Harry was willing to die to get the kill over to the Brody. It would have been great, because knowing that Brody was going to recall anyway, right? If he stays, he's going to die. So instead of sacrificing yourself, clear the minions, get the turret, and that's how you extend the lead. So I feel like that's something that GUANGZHOU have to look out for, because there was a lot of wasted opportunity where they 100% should have gotten more on the map, but they just don't have that experience just yet.
Those little moments, 54,000 and 43,000 gold. It wasn't that way, but it became clear that Falcons were going to take the lead of this game. Ogun caused a lot of thoughts to be centered around him and how he, can't believe it, that SpongeBob skin coming in. It's so funny.
Patrick is amazing.
I was like, excuse me, what's going on? That glue is being played. But obviously caused a lot of attention, and that was one of the game plans. Didn't work out on a few of the dives, but after that, really forced GUANGZHOU Gaming to play around him.
Yeah, all this game, I feel like Oakman's is going to play the distracting game, right? He went for the classic itemization, though, of the glowing one of the cursed helmet, and that's why he was so squishy at the start. Every time he went slam, pass, it would either be I get the mount or I die, straight up, right? So he ended up being a diversion so that the rest of the team can actually get a few of these picks here and there. And for the most part, it worked out, because Kyle on the Assassin, on the Ling, was sent into these side lanes to farm up so well. That was also one of the reasons why they were able to keep the gold lead from skyrocketing away from
How much of this is just a style? Because, you know, we had Gideon break down why this gold lead was starting to happen, and he was pointing out that side lane was not being farmed, and that GUANGZHOU were just grouping up. They wanted to take fights like that. They wanted to roam all 5 on all sides of the map. Is that something they can afford to do against Falcons?
Honestly, no. I feel like you can split the map. Maybe you go for a 3-2 formation, because we saw wherever recall is, wherever the Nolan is, they can either get a kill or make the opponents low enough so that they have to back. There was few ganks onto Flap where I feel like, okay, you got Flap, and now what, right? You gotta either control the jungle or get those objectives. So I feel like that's just something that you have to understand, right? You know that recall can give you the advantage. So what are you going to do with that advantage? Because against a team like Falcons PH, Liquid, SRG, even Vamos, if you give them time, especially up against a Ling, once Kyle got that Blade of Despair, then that was it. The damage coming in from the lane was just too much for them to handle.
You have to, again, remember that that's the reason he went for just pure damage at the start, right? Very unorthodox Ling build, just going rushing BOD, but it's because you already have physical shred, you already have consistent damage from the Dairoth, and then the Brody, and then the Lilia as well. So it was just a mix of damage constantly going at it, and she just wanted to go for those last hits, and that's why a couple of times you saw some surprise moments where I think Xing just got blinked completely taken out with just one ability, one defined blade. So it's the small things, and I agree. There were a lot of throws from GUANGZHOU Gaming when they were ahead, forcing in mid. I remember diving onto Haji for some reason. Mei dove in, lost, died there, and completely lost control on the map.
You know, another star, I think, moment, or had a couple of moments from GUANGZHOU Gaming was Nolan. Nolan actually had a pretty good, he was 5-1 for most of that game. Last person alive, defending the base, tried to make something happen, but couldn't. LaFell, you know, he's an important part of GUANGZHOU Gaming's strategy if they want to win this.
I gotta say, so far, looking at the previous game, the draft might change how this will look like, but it does seem that if there's anything that GUANGZHOU wants to exploit, it's the front lines. Take down Ogwen as well as take down Flap. Because the thing is, once those are gone, you should hope that the discipline for Falcons PH to respect the damage coming in and not force a defense. Try to use that, because in that earlier fight, I just don't like them sacrificing themselves for nothing.
Yeah, I agree. The sacrifices definitely, they gotta fix a lot of those. But I think going back to the Nolan pick, I feel like in this position, it doesn't matter how well the Nolan plays at the end of the game. Because that pick in itself was already forced out, right? We saw all the assassins banned out. Fanny Hirara in the first phase, the Ling first pick, and then the Hayabusa taken out in the second phase, where then you are left to play either utility jungle, which will already be countered by the Lilia, the Glue, and shredded down by the Dairoth, or you go for an assassin, which can clear fast, can get an early snowball, but will ultimately amount to nothing. Because again, in that game, Nolan, you're up against a Lilia, Black Shoes instantly, you're up against a Brody that can stun you and lock you down, and then a Ling who literally is the counter to the Nolan. It's tough.
Day late and a dollar short sometimes for that last pick, and I think obviously GUANGZHOU Gaming trying to pull out, it could be a rabbit out of the hat. They might need more than that. They might need a tank out of the hat to have enough firepower against Falcons, because they came to play. There was no doubt that these players want to show up like we know they can on this global stage. MSC looking for one winner for that $1 million prize pool. Falcons on their way to be it. One more win, they will put themselves in a strong position in this group with a 2-0 start. But of course, GUANGZHOU Gaming trying to come back and claw their way to make it a best of 3 and force that final third game. LaFell, more of what Falcons have done seem to be probably the plan for game 2.
I don't know if Mirko agrees, but I was hoping for much more coming in from Falcons here, because yes, they win, but even as analysts, we're like,
interesting.
It's not going to be enough just yet, because you got to look at this tournament as a whole. GUANGZHOU Gaming, they've shown that they are strong, but there are some games you need a statement game to show that you are far above and beyond the competition for you to go to the grand finals. Because at this point, it's not about beating GUANGZHOU, it's about getting that momentum, that tempo, for you to make it all the way to the grand finals. And I hope this is
hi, Rebay, Steve Jr. and Jen Mitsu. Welcome to the stream. Welcome.
I want to see a bit more coming in from Falcons.
Yeah, for me, unfortunately, I see where you're coming from. I agree to a certain extent, but I think just going off of the experience of all these teams, you know, Falcons, PH, TLPH, just the Filipino teams in general, there are so many times where in a tournament they would look weak early on, but then they would just adapt and improve as time passes by and as the tournament goes around. So I think that's another, this should be another example of that. Falcons PH, TLPH, all the teams, I think here in their first day will still be kind of like reading out, gauging out what the meta really is, and they'll still be going for weirder picks. And then later on, we'll have a much more, we'll have a better understanding on the meta.
Same as Navi in MWI. But yeah, I feel like in terms of the meta, I think it's flexible. True. It's really just about, I guess, the micro and macro, knowing when to go in and out, because Dairoth is not a hero that's in the meta a lot, so it's one of those where you kind of punish yourself.
You know, interestingly enough, a lot of MOBAs have this sense of one really strong counter pick that's like you can't deal anything with, that could change your entire game. Do you feel that that's available, at least in this meta right now, where you could see a lineup come out like Falcons PH, and you see a last pick or 2 last picks from a team like GUANGZHOU Gaming that go, oh wow, we can't deal with that. We got 5 good heroes, but we cannot deal with those 2 once they get going? Or is it more of the fact that you're kind of needing to draft this lineup that sets up you to be successful from the very beginning, and then having members of that final pick complement it?
Yeah. I think it's possible that one pick can just be like, all right, we're done. But that's a very rare case, especially on an international stage.
Yeah,
so
okay.
where we'll have that would be usually in the laning phase, right? Like the Dyroth against the Esmeralda. But then that's where the others come in and help her out.
And I imagine that's because, again, this is a much faster game when it comes to MOBAs that can last over an hour. We had Dota 2 on the stage, right, just last week. It's a different pacing, it's a different timing, and it's a different scale. When you're here, you need the tempo, you need to be available in those first 5 minutes, those first 10 minutes, because those turtles, that Lord, it's gonna maybe change and secure your victory right away.
No, I gotta say, here in the Mobile Legends ecosystem, we have another thing to consider. It's not sometimes just one hero. Sometimes just the draft.
Yo, Vale, welcome to the stream. My favorite team is
for example, we've had
Falcons.
teams draft a no
Falcons
control
PH.
kind of draft where you're going up against a lot of.
Hope you guys can hear me though. I'm trying to test the audio for it to be like the best.
How are you gonna? They're just dancing around, and there's literally nothing you can do. We've had teams where you have so much crowd control but 0 damage, so you're just fighting for 2 to 3 minutes and nothing happens. So that's also a balance we have to see in the drafts.
When you have a team that is so good at being aggressive, do you try to match that and say there is no version of Peel that we can provide that's going to stop them? So the best chance is actually try to hit them back.
Sometimes it's better to fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
Some other times you might have to just double down on Peel, right? And right now, I think for GUANGZHOU Gaming, the route is double down on meta. Because again, they had a pretty good composition from the start of the game. They had tempo, they had the snowball, but unfortunately, they weren't able to capitalize on the leads because they didn't have any pick that could deal with Kyle on the Ling, constantly clearing those side lanes, right? So again, with the Nolan, you aren't able to 1v on the Ling in the side lane. With any of those picks, you're kind of like forced to group up. That's why we were talking about the Moskov. I think the Moskov, just that one pick added into that kind of composition, and they'll be pretty good.
Yeah. Dangerous grass picked up for the map. How does that change things, LaFell, if at all?
Well, it really helps out a team that really wants to be aggressive, and it forces you to never autopilot because you're playing a normal map, you know where the bushes are, but sometimes it just disappears in your brain that there's a bush in front of you, you just forget about it.
Oh, man. Goodbye to Assassins, I'm guessing here. Fanny, Ling, both banned. I believe the Hirara should be coming out next.
Yep, and we have a fun fact here. Sunday, formerly known as HAUSA, was the world champion in a different MOBA. And will his winning formula help GUANGZHOU Gaming pull up an upset today? I mean, like, it was pretty good at the early, but again, it's all about utilizing the advantages that you have.
And it's also about timing. And I think certain players, we see this across multiple games as well, I'm sure in MLBB, fit different metas better. And you can play the meta, but sometimes it's not the meta you would prefer to play. It's not your style, it's not where you feel at home. So having a winning formula in one game, in one meta, may not translate over to what we're seeing now, which clearly has given us a little bit of a different look here as we see our bands start to come out for Game 2, Falcons versus Guangzhou Gaming.
Yeah, back again to that point though, hey, I've seen a lot of different coaches come in from different MOBAs, and it's always a clear template that they bring into the team, right? Early games, great. They have these templates where this is where you need to group up. This is how you get prio over your laner. This is how you get prio over the map itself. But then it's the mid and late game where we get to see a little bit of that question mark. And it's because compared to other MOBAs, this is a lot faster, like you pointed out, Rain Day. And because it's a lot faster, it's almost like they're coming into it with the mindset of, all right, we're going
I'm trying to adjust. I'm trying my best to adjust to the best.
It's kind of like you go gear 1, and you kind of have to skip the next 4 gears into 5.
Yeah.
Something to note as well, the longer the game goes, the less that the coach can really impact on the decisions of the game, because that's why certain shot callers in Mobile Legends is so highly valued that even if your mechanics isn't that great, but you have a good head over your shoulders, your price is just gonna skyrocket. So
shoutouts to V.
Shoutouts to V. And this is why, honestly, we're going into a game where teams that have incredible mechanics as well as good coaches try to end the game as fast as possible, because I would say after 10-12 minutes it can get chaotic, and that's where the point surprises happens. And Hirara first pick here for GUANGZHOU, and now an early Akai as well as the Eudora.
Oh god.
We're getting spicy over here. Rara finally let through, and Eudora back again for the 3rd out of 4 games with the early Akai.
Yeah, that's why Falcons
Supposed to
were
move this.
happy with the trade. They were like, all right, go for the Hirara. We'll take the
Wait,
Eudora.
Eudora
we'll
is getting
lock her
picked
down completely, and
constantly,
even the
bro.
Akai pick. Now,
Yeah.
we've seen more Assassins do well, find success over the course of the last 3 games that we casted or that we analyzed for. But the Akai works when it's still against the Hirara, man. It's just so difficult for the Hirara to walk onto these neutral objectives. So, GUANGZHOU Gaming, I think they got to build for a strong side goal.
Yeah, and also just to note for the fans watching, just because a hero got nerfed doesn't mean it's unusable, right? Akai is still very strong. It's still a top pick in the jungle. Is just not as oppressive during wildcards and basically during wildcards because during
Alright,
MWI it's already
let's
been nerfed. So now GUANGZHOU answer with the Claude as well as the Eve, and now the Harley picked up. So this is Akai rope.
I think so.
Yeah.
I like it more than the Akai jungle, not gonna lie. I agree with you, it's not
Bro,
entirely
Eudora.
out of the meta in the jungle, but I prefer it to be somewhere else, especially considering right now it's all about having those fast clearing jungles, and Akai did get kind of nerfed in that aspect. The Barats gets banned out. Very interesting.
Why so?
Okay, so
Eudora versus
I've also
Akai.
seen this in scrims. The Barats is usually an answer to the Arlet or the Paquito, so I think Falcons might actually be eyeing an Arlet here, knowing that, again, they already have an Akai. It's very good to stop that. The Brody gets banned out by GUANGZHOU Gaming, another pick that can actually bully the Claude, but if you see the Eve, you're already kind of thinking it should be no problem.
Yeah.
Either way, though, it is what it is. The Uranus is the final ban for Falcons.
Let's go.
Yeah, so it looks like Falcons trying to set up for a strong pick in the EXP, and now the Clint has been banned out as well. So for GUANGZHOU, I would say their opening is pretty solid, but they still need someone to be a proper frontline. If possible, push the Eudora away so that it doesn't become a problem for either the Claude or the Hirara, because they got a lot of damage coming in from GUANGZHou, but I feel like if one of those pieces is missing, it's gonna be a bit awkward.
Who's gonna win game
Pressure with
2?
Moskov, able to have that global rotate
Wait.
to join in on the fights. That was one
Can
of the
I-
things the casters picked up. Gideon mentioned that was a
Time?
problem for GUANGZHOU. Grouping together, not being able to kind of 4-1 or 3-2, as you mentioned, LaFell. Moskov going to open up
Right.
some things and some playmaking potential, as we have 2 more picks here coming from GUANGZHOU Gaming to close out their draft.
Yeah, especially now we're in dangerous grass. They
Maybe.
need a dedicated pick, doesn't
Wait a
matter Roam
second.
or EXP, just to be able to open up the map,
Wait a
because
second.
Eudora as well as the Hardy can take advantage. And there's the Grok. We don't see him a lot. Still
Wait,
very
Grok-
strong.
Grok
Because
is good.
finally the Paquito shows up. Esmeralda is not there to like be a true counter, but at this point I feel like there's still quite a lot of picks that can deal with GUANGZHOU.
I think it should be just either the Phobius or the Arlet.
Well, yeah, the Fovia is still open, yeah.
The Arlet, you're going to get bullied quite a bit by the Keto, but then you're just relying on the stuns coming in for the resets with the Akai and the Eudora in your team. If you want to take more into your hands, you would go for the Phobius, but instead, they go for the Sora.
I gotta say, Falcons PH.
Just for dive?
Falcons PH, at least for this matchup, looks like that, like just more damage, right? A good offense is a good defense. So a lot of firepower coming in from Falcons for the first match in game number 1 and game number 2.
Because it seems like with the Sora pick here, it's more of like, all right, we don't care about the lane anymore. We're just going to go for the team fight because the Paquito
Alright, give me
is
some about to
usually an
start.
answer to the Sora in lane.
And at this point, why would they? Whatever works last game could work again. Confidence for Team Falcons PH trying to close it out over GZG. Let's send it over to our casters, see what they think as Gideon and Brigitte join us for game 2.
Thanks so much, Reindeer. Let's jump right into this. We are ready for battle, of course, but right now, it's about trying to figure out how to get underneath the skin of each of our competitors here. And so far, currently at match point, it's Team Falcons who are leading that charge. We want to see how GZG
Let's go, Falcons.
And I agree. I would want to see more from Team Falcons as well. It was already brought up by our
Haji
panelists.
playing
Initially,
the
I think heading
Eudora.
into this tournament, you were really expecting them to be one of the cleanest, but game 1, GZG pushed them to the limits by just a little bit. So this time around, though, things seem to be pretty different, draft-wise especially.
Oh, what a sneaky little invade here by Kyle. Able to take a camp out. He figured out the starting path and was able to take at least one of these camps. This does mean that it's going to be a bit of a delay. However, We're going to see Recall here going to try and contest this. It's dangerous stuff, and admittedly, they played it well. Even Haji getting into the right position to see it happen.
Yeah, somehow
Yo.
equalizing the
I thought
advantage
Ogun
in
took
the
the
early
buff.
game, given that Kyle did take away one green cap. But a quick look onto the emblems as well. There seems to be the mid duo taking that PYT.
Interesting stuff, but at the same time, I'm liking the way that Falcons are actually playing this right now. Flap.
Whoa, Flap is dead.
What's that?
That was close.
Felt like that was a kill angle.
Yeah, if it weren't for Oakwood.
Yeah, but even then, I think that should have been a solo kill, right? Empower jab into auto attack would have been like more than enough to take him out here, but now.
Oh, this is something unexpected. Xing did not
First
expect
blood,
that. But
Haji is
Guangzhou
dead.
actually picked up first blood. They find Haji
Kyle
in
gets a
exchange
double.
of Xing, but it's a double kill now
Nice.
for Kyle, and it seems like they got the better trade.
A much better trade, in a matter of fact, and May understood. Again, this Grok can be a game changer. The problem is that it's very timing based, right? You
Yeah.
have to maintain control over tempo. It's not a fight on a dime type hero. You really have to kind of set the plays and really find the right angles. At the same time, with tempo. Oh,
Ooh.
whoa! All right. So we know that Kyle's on top side.
Okay, and now, you know, the Modi's just holding this bush. We're seeing dangerous grass in a while, and now it's Falcon starting it up. But Recall
Bro,
and the
look
rest
at the
of
grok.
the members are
Watch
going to
the
be here
grok,
too.
bro.
Flap trying to look for an angle. It's not going to go in for the setup just yet, and there you go. But it's still Recall actually winning out on the retray battle. Blazing to it, already coming in here by side. SOD will not connect, but Open still goes in for the knockup.
Bro.
And the flicker from Flap. They still actually find
I think
Escape,
Flap-
but
no,
they
Flap
might just
is
get traded out.
dead.
Unfortunately,
No.
the heavy spin will keep them safe. The knockup,
No!
however,
Owen
close
escapes.
call
Nice.
for Ogren right there.
That was
The timing
insane.
by both of these supports. They both knew we're about to hit level 4. Just give me the right timing. I just need to reveal one extra person. The tech charge alongside with a heavy spin, life-changing spells. And now you get to see how these compositions actually want to play the game now, right? Falcons, understandably, hey, even though it's a skirmish, we can't risk losing these big spells before the most important fight. But look at Kyle, repathing down towards the purple side, knowing that Hirara is on the orange buff side.
Yeah, I think
Kyle
the
is
only
wicked.
small win really that we could really consider from that was the fact that Recall
Bro,
still got
Falcons
the objective.
are
Other than that, the team fight, the post-turtle takes seem to
freaking
have really favored Falcons,
taking
especially
everything.
as Recall has lost on so much resources at this point already. Fortunately though, he's not really
They're
as
literally
behind, but you
systemizing
can see that
China
Kyle is
right
really
now.
having such a good start.
Wait, keep your eyes out here. Flat might find an angle. If he gets on top of Xing, it might just be over. It doesn't reveal him, but he's gonna walk through. Good check, good game sense.
Yep, they're not they could not afford to lose out on any more. At least Modi, I think, would be communicating every single time he feels that Flap isn't within the area.
Bro,
Another
Akai,
grab. I think that's the second
Akai
time
room
Super
is
Mark was stolen away
crazy.
from Guangzhou.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Nah,
Committing it
is he
all
gonna
just
go
for
in?
these small advantages. That's what
He-
separates
he
the
still
boys
went
from
in.
the men. Oh, so
I think his baiting is
Okay,
purified.
there's
His
a
baiting is
Purify
purified.
still, but he still gets caught in the heavy spin nonetheless. The
Guy
damage
is
from Haji
insane.
gonna be
Nah,
enough. The
Owen
question
is
does
dead.
Owen
There's
get
no
out
way
of
he
this?
escapes. No way he escapes
Just
again, bro.
Not with the real
Damn.
world manipulation being laid
That
down.
was
Okay,
close.
that's actually incredible.
So Malcolm
That's
might get
actually
his
incredible.
bottom turret.
No RWM, they get to
He has his
technically
ult.
contest this for free, but
No,
can
he
they do
doesn't.
it right now? Flat misses everything.
Yep, he doesn't get to find a setup, and still Guangzhou will be the one
they
securing
need to
this
get out.
objective. Kyle will not make it
Nice,
as
nice,
he
nice,
just
nice, nice.
focuses on
Falcons,
this
let's
green
go.
cap. But that's knowing that they didn't have the real world,
Yo,
and now Guangzhou might
Grok
get more.
ult.
They might just find Kyle.
Kyle is not
Fortunately,
cheat.
still alive,
Okay,
though,
Kyle is
but
dead.
Xing picks up the kill. Now they're gonna go for the chase.
Bro,
Snake
the chain
tries to get
CC
back
on
under
this
the turrets.
Eudora.
Another fire laid down, and the flicker to get out.
Damn, that was
This
close.
is ridiculous. That fork lightning. Owen. Oh no, wait. Does he have? Okay, he does have body slam, but CUR chasing this really isn't gonna get much until he gets that Trinity build.
Bro, am I starting using Akai
You
room
see
now?
the fork
Like,
lightning being spammed like what, 3 times?
It's looking
I know
pretty
that they
good.
changed the cooldowns to it so that you can like chain it together much easier than last time, where you needed to be
Yeah,
like level
expeditive.
11, level 10 around there to get it consistently. But now here at level 7, I mean Haji is doing it consistently too.
Yeah, and at least for Falcons, despite what happened earlier on, it didn't really
Isn't
they didn't
this
really lose the advantage.
Moody guy
Like,
supposed to
they
be
still
winning
have the
lane
advantage
against
in their hands nonetheless, despite Flap
like
slipping
Sora
up on that
against
setup and them actually not being able to contest for
Pakito?
the
Isn't that supposed to
objective.
be
And maybe that's
a
what
losing
Guangzhou
matchup
can
for
just
Flap?
really try to capitalize on. The fact that even if the Akai is on the other side, the way that they just get in
Just
and out of
thinking.
these fights and still have these utilities to really rely on, such as the tech charge and real world manipulation, might just give them the upper hand.
Yeah, I gotta admit,
Yeah.
I think GZG, they
Owen
got
is
the
doing pretty
mechanics,
well
and I think
on
they
it.
also have great communication with each of their members, but I think Falcons is much better at just playing patient, and honestly,
Nah, Haji
super
is dead.
tactical. Oh,
Full Flap's
No,
gonna be
nice
here, Haji
flicker.
flickers out, but they find themselves under the real world manipulation, but they're not gonna fight under that anymore. So that's just resources burned again from the side of Guangzhou pre-turtle.
and here I was complimenting GZG about, you know, great communication, and yet, you
Well,
know,
if you
they could've,
think about
I
it,
don't know, used
like,
their ults at the same time, or, you know,
GZG are
find the
actually
engagement a little bit
trying
sooner, but that's fine.
to
It
hold up their
happens,
own against
especially in
Falcons.
high-stakes games,
Because
and
if you
especially
look
when
at the
you're
goal
playing
lead, it's
against
not
a team
that
like
much
Falcon. You know they've
on the
got plenty of
kill
history.
board.
Yeah, Kyle shows up here
3-5.
mid, and Ogun will be at least
You're literally
positioning
trying.
the turtle. But Guangzhou have a lot of information. They know what to expect and where they could potentially come from. But does Flap start things off again?
I think it's about the play.
Jay,
Oh,
heavy
it's gonna be
spin
May
on the
instead. He gets
Grok.
caught now. Tech charge does land, but does he
Grok
go
still
down
escapes.
into deadly magic? It's not gonna be.
Is this
the
a good
case.
fight? Flap
Guangzhou
is
once
dead.
again take the
No.
objective for themselves, and it's Flap just trying to run for his life. But X King does
Yikes.
not allow him to get away.
Bro, China are really trying.
This seems like a repeat of game number 1, where it's not Kyle going to the other side of the map, but instead it's just Super Marco at this point.
Only naturally,
Though
right?
they are
'Cause when
losing
you have
objectives.
access to the SOD, being able to close that distance with the rest
Bottom
of your team
turret's
on neutral
gone as
objectives
well.
is sort of the point. But I think at
Euro
this stage,
6.
Super Marco, he's probably going to start rotating after clearing this bot side, rotate over to mid, and then immediately, oh wait, actually, does he need to? Nah, he doesn't need to. The Lord is going to spawn on that top side. He's staying down bot.
Oh, open half HP. Guangzhou Gaming have been really good in terms of these pokes and back and forths as well. Not really granting the massive advantage to Falcons despite the slight sloppiness, I'd say, especially pre-objectives. But at least they're somehow grouping together and making sure that they somehow, at least, the next
The
team
Grok
fight
is
we
not
see,
doing too bad.
get to communicate and layer their skills better.
Yeah, I'm noticing that GCG,
1-0-3 on Grok.
like the gold lead isn't too far away from the Falcons, right? You can play
Yeah.
a little disrespectful, but I've noticed that they don't really invade, do they? They just sit around the river a lot of the time. Thanks Zephyr for bringing up the items, because I am curious to see how far along the track they are. Chastised Pauldron already purchased by May, and now that the rest of the Falcons are looking to get this tier 2 side, we're just a little bit of gold off before Super Marco is actually able to complete the Trinity. DHS and he's done.
Yeah, I think the only time we really got to see them invade was when May was on the Hilda, and it was just May as the Hilda. Like, there wasn't really help that came from the other members as much, and that's naturally what you expect. But this time, on the Grok and Eve, it seems to be a bit different in terms of their gameplay, or maybe Falcons too are just overwhelmingly good in controlling the map.
Maybe, but I think the Falcons need to recognize that, hey, GZG are really good at chasing you down, so they cannot take that initial impact. If it's too much damage and they back away, it's just as good as a wipeout. So I think that Falcons are being extra precautious on the way that they need to maneuver around these fights, knowing that the tech charge is probably their best form of counter engage, and the real world manipulation, it's a box, so you got to start thinking about angles.
GZZ are just blocking off the entries for Ogun at this point, forcing the recall for Super Marco just to get here, but now
Moody's
oh,
gone.
how did it end up like this? There were just 3 members surrounding him at that point, and he was all alone. Now
Free
GZG are
objective
down
for
1.
Falcons.
Recall shows up. Flap trying to keep him in check. May still has the ultimate, but Ogun uses his first. And now
Ogun
Falcons
is
are just going to go hero.
dead.
Super Marco's here to help.
Bro,
Using
the
blade
boss
to
from
get away, but
Eudora.
SOD is gonna
Super
land.
Marco
Super
behind.
Marco goes in, Flap 2 helping him make get some kills.
Is it a wipeout?
But that's just them pushing GZG out as they focus
Pitch
on the
473.
objective.
That has to be one of the biggest whiffs of all time. Zipper, don't put up the replay on that one. I swear to God, Recall dying there? Like, why would you use your iframes to try and bail? Like, you can't stop the spin. That's the problem with a heavy spin. You can't stop it. Oh!
Bro.
Doesn't have enough damage.
Yeah,
But sure, boy, was that flashy. That looked cool.
it was cool. And they got tier 2 turrets out of that too. Unfortunately, you have to take a look at the replay.
God damn it, Zipper! I mean, just look at Recall, right? There's no reason for him to actually dash into this to get the extra little bit of damage. If they wanted to do something earlier, it's got to be the RWM. The order was wrong, and unfortunately for Recall, he should have known. Don't go into the heavy spin. You can't cancel it out as easy as you think it can.
Yep. And now they have to deal with the Lord, who is still up, by the way, marching down bot as Falcons will just try to focus out on the other remaining outer turrets. And Recall shows up yet again.
Bro, 0 damage on the kite.
But now it's Falcons winning out big. It's a 5k gold lead all over again. At least they have Holy Shields, because earlier when they had this Lord, their Holy Shields were already down.
But still, it's pretty good. GCG, if they can just clear out these... Oh, the conceal.
Oh, Clap's gonna go in, does find one. Real world manipulation used as a response, though. Kyle's just gonna focus on X-King! Deadly Magic definitely gonna take him downside. Doesn't have enough damage with the blazing sword just yet, but Recall will finish the job. They find one in exchange of 2. Kyle being chased by Modi, but this is not enough. Super Marco goes in! SOD threatens them, and they cannot chase after Kyle anymore.
Damn.
Can they actually do
That
this?
was bad.
Almost.
Dude, nice play, nice play. Whoa, the Eudora.
The KDA machine says no.
Wow, Owen picked up an Immortality too. Were they expecting the team fight to last a bit longer than it should have? Another Deadly Magic onto May. But this is going to be a Croc, so they're not going to take him down.
Yeah, typical Paquito things, am I right? You know, it's just like Suyo when you're just about you get that first kill and then you purchase the Sky Piercer. Same goes for the Immos, right? It happens at times. But for the time being, we can see that like they've got good damage here. I am curious to see what they have. Thank you for the item, Zipper. 3 already done. Malefic Gun on the way through. Winds of Nature, good purchase here for Super Marco. They understand that it's going to be up to the Blazing Duet to kind of make up for the lack of damage.
Yeah, so we see that how
Bro.
surprisingly Modi lasted a bit longer than we thought. Apart from the fact that, yeah, Haji's skills were mostly on cooldown, I'd say, but this is looking really devastating. The damage that you can expect from Kyle is really massive, and now Exine gets caught by Flap once again. It's just Flap.
No, why did it drop ult Stawi?
And he
He's dead again.
nearly took him down. May will be the exchange for this, but Kyle trying to go for the
No,
take
Flap
of the
is still
back
alive.
too. GZG now have left Recall all alone against 5 of Team Falcons.
Damn, Falcons are
Literally
styling
1
on them.
HP and the crowd's going wild for this one. Wasn't expecting them to survive, but expecting at least a 2 for 1 trade, and then you get denied even that. An 8k gold lead as Falcons have taken this mid game all the way to the late and are looking to punch a hole straight through GZG.
Yep, it's just Kyle on the Lord. No threat whatsoever from the side of GZG. At least Sai can still hold on to this Purify later on for this upcoming siege, but it's looking scary. The way or the ways that Falcons can just attempt to go in for a dive.
Yeah, I gotta give it to Modi though. Although the build is a little more defensive, not looking to take full advantage of the kit in multiple different ways, I think getting a War Axe might actually be profitable for him. He's been playing a really good peel. He saved the life of Seeing, and I think they got it. Oh!
Yikes. Block the arrow,
just
bro.
mentioned his name and
Good
he
block.
nearly
Would
went
have
down.
died.
Don't worry, if it's not for Modi, it's May who's going to block the damage. They are working in tandem with each other.
They have to at this point because they're the only ones that GZG could really rely on when it comes to the all-out team fights. Kyle is gonna hold this bush. Recall has no idea, and the Lord is gonna march down here as well. They get this turret for free, and now Owen goes in. Already
Owen.
got half HP though, so you gotta respect the damage coming from GZG.
They're dancing around this and they understand, man, the waves are not exactly in the best position, and unfortunately, in comparison to Guangzhou's Gaming's lineup, it's a lot harder to get the siege down.
Oh, Recall goes in. Owen already very low.
They don't know.
They don't know. They don't know.
They're gonna back away from this.
Yeah, because the Purify was still up too, even if he went for the tech charge there.
I'm realizing, I thought they got rid of the eye. Or maybe this is like a spectator thing.
Oh, yeah.
That we get to see the eye, but they don't.
Yeah.
This is nice. This is a little quality of life change that we've been asking for, that now being implemented onto our, at least for our observers.
Did they take out Did they take out the eye or just the delay when you see?
It is the delay on the eye as well, but even so, let's see where this is going to lead to, because right now Falcons have been bouncing back and forth between top side and bottom side just to get every buff underneath the sun.
Okay, the threat of the tech charge
Hey,
is there.
Owen
but
is
the
dead.
Side too, shredding down Owen to bases. Immortality already popped. The setup from Flap. Catching
Yikes.
two with the follow-up damage coming in from Kyle. They're definitely
Damn,
gonna
it's
take out
over.
more. Modi falls first. The
It's
iframes
over, bro.
are not gonna keep recall safe.
Bro, look at Super Marco, bro.
From the sides, finds a double and just waits for the waves to come crashing.
Nah.
into the face.
A chop to the neck, trying to break the neck now.
It's
trying to
gotta be
go for the
GG.
throat. Seeing what can he do? What do they have access to? They could try. No, not even the RWM is accessible. And Falcons will close
No.
this game out with a clean
Nice.
2-0 against Guangzhou Gaming.
Game Falcons, bro.
With the wipeout at that to end game number 2. Falcons were just everywhere. They could not find the best setup for Guangzhou. They had to worry about all these backlines, these surprises that
Falcons
had to come in
cooked.
for Team Falcons.
But this is a learning experience. It really comes down to the little things in the game that slowly add up. I wouldn't say that this is a complete defeat for GZG, but a huge learning experience for what is to come later in this group.
Yeah, the fact that Falcons haven't had the cleanest of games in their debut here in MSC already goes to show the potential that GZG actually have in this debut match.
It's some good stuff and a very good showing so far, as our second series of the day has been exciting just to see what our professionals are pushing the meta towards and what they've been experimenting. And I kind of like it because now they're showing multiple flex picks, and even over and going on the Sakai opens up opportunities for other teams to say, hey, this could be a drafting technique we can utilize.
How long have we been wanting for different picks in the mid lane, right? You get it in the first day of MSC, where the Eudora seems to be showing up more often than we expected it to. And the flex picks on the picks you're so used to seeing in certain roles as well, the direct counters, the draft sequences. There's just so much to understand and uncover here in MSC. What is that?
They get you every single time. You should expect it these days, especially now that the meta is heading towards Eudora. Because now, there's so many things Eudora can do. The extra movement speed, the multi-stun, which has been changing a lot of these fights. Like a surprising amount of AoE that most people don't associate with Eudora because it's been too long. Now, we're gonna head on over to the stage to have an interview with our winners, Team Falcon.
Hey guys, Rose here with Super Marco up on stage after a 2-0 clean sweep up against Guangzhou Gaming. Super Marco, welcome back to MSC. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
You're feeling good. He's shy. Now, Super Marco, I want to ask,
Shy,
how
okay.
different is the Super Marco this year compared to the one we saw in 2024 that made it all the way to the grand finals?
I think still the same because I'm still motivated and I'm eager to win.
Wow. Now that was a really good answer. Okay, let's discuss game 1. Because in the first game, we saw that the first few minutes of the game was primarily dominated by Guangzhou Gaming. So did you guys get shocked, honestly, at how aggressive they were in the early game?
I think they just maximize our errors in early game. That's why they got the advantage.
And how did you guys manage to keep yourself composed and come back for the later part of the game?
We just maximize their errors. That's why we came back. Yeah.
You guys capitalized on the mistakes that they played out in the game, which honestly boils down to experience, if you ask me. Now, Super Marco, 2 matches into MSC, and we have witnessed some very, very interesting picks that has debuted this year, like the
Tyroth
Brody
and
coming
Eudora.
out from you. So I want to ask, what made you guys decide to pick Brody?
I don't know. Brody's just meta. There's no other reason. It's just meta.
It's just meta, so why didn't you pick your Brody skin?
No reason.
No? You just don't feel like using it today?
I don't want to use it.
Why?
I just don't feel it.
You just don't feel it. Now, I did hear that some players don't like to use their own skin because they said that they feel like it's cursed somehow, that when they played on the international stages, they do end up losing. Is it the same case for you?
Yeah.
There's a curse. All right, we shall not ask further. Super Marco, is there any words that you want to say to the fans that has been supporting you guys?
Thank you sa mga Thank you sa mga pumunta sa venue tsaka sa mga sumusuporta sa amin dyan online. Sana supportahan nyo kami next match.
He said thank you to everybody who came down to the venue and of course to those watching at home, and he hopes that you guys can actually support them in their next match. Congratulations, Super Marco, and thank you very much. That's it from us here with the post-match winner interview. Throwing it back to you guys at the studio.
Thank you, Rose. Some time with Super Marco there on stage. The fans, you could hear him. They were elated to see him moving on. 2024 grand finalist in Team Falcons, back again to try to claim the title and fill out that trophy cabinet. I'm Rain Day, joining you back here on the studio panel with Mirko and Lefel to close out our second series of the day. Mirko, it was all Falcons all the way. They did do some different things than what we saw Team Vamos do in the earlier set, but it was the same result. Just pretty much a team that seems like it can go far in this tournament right now versus a team that's still trying to figure out how they want to succeed in the meta.
I think it's the same again, right? We saw the early game, we saw the template. When it was still template early to mid game, they know what to do. They know exactly where to position themselves. They know when to
Next
gank,
game
how
is
to
going
but
to be
once it gets to a stage where they have to be a little bit more creative, when it's hands off for the coach, when it's no longer template, they're lost. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to rotate. And I really feel like in this game especially, a bit naive a couple of times, you know, walking past some of these bushes. May not opening up for CY. Dude, CY, that one moment where the Claude walked out through the bush, I was like, oh my god, why is the roamer not opening up?
Marco, this is why I see in dangerous grass, it catches you whenever you autopilot, because I play as a roam, and sometimes especially I'm colorblind. Dude, I'm colorblind, right?
These are issues, right?
I mean, like, these are issues.
Yeah, like, real issues.
There are things that make you overthink, like, for example, even questions, right? Players are struggling going up against Eterna, and now Rose, even Super Marco's like, I did not get this in PR training. They didn't tell me what to do when they asked about the skins, right? Look at his face. He looked more scared in that interview than in games like, oh my god, why do I answer about the skins?
She wouldn't let him go either.
She wouldn't let him. She's like,
I know Rose now. She's not. She's pushing. Yeah, why? Say that again.
Exactly.
A little louder, please.
So here's the thing, right? In game, I feel like quite a lot of players have been investing a lot of time in trying to establish the meta and all this kind of thing, sometimes to the point where you overlook certain aspects. And that's why Dangerous Grass is something that I really look forward to, because especially if the game goes long, somehow the grass just disappears from your mind. I don't know what they call it in science, but it's probably no grass in your face. Just
maybe maybe it's like wearing a watch where you kind of stop feeling it after a while. Blends into your wrist,
and then you just check your phone for the time.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. Wait a second, I got my watch on. Guys, 18-6, 15-minute game. I'm struggling to try to figure out a question to ask you guys that could have an answer to support GUANGZHOU Gaming or a team on this back foot so far moving forward, because it just seems like there's total control over our leading teams here.
Absolutely. You know, Falcons PH, not only do they have control in the mid to late game, but I feel like in the drafts as well. And now this I think brings it back to our questions that we had in the draft. Why not Arlet? Why not Phobius? Why did you go for the Sora? And mainly, they needed a second setter. I think in the XP lane and in the roam departments now, we're going to be seeing a lot more CC-heavy heroes, guys that can stay up front, they can be the initiators to open up for the other damage dealers, right? And I think that's what GUANGZHOU Gaming lacked. They went for Yves, they went for Hirara, they went for Claude, and then the Paquito. So it's like, who do you want to carry? Who do you want to initiate? At that point, it was me doing everything. Opening up, initiating, healing. Everybody else was trying to deal damage, and when everybody else is doing, you know, individual tasks, you don't play together as a unit.
Although I do have to say, I like what I saw coming in from GUANGZHOU Gaming. I feel like those are mistakes that is very much fixable, right? Yeah. Look at other teams play, get some bits here and there, maybe 1 or 2 scrims, and I feel like they would catch up very, very fast. I feel like the micro is there. Now it's all about priority, the draft, as well as how you move around the map, which is a lot. But hey, we're playing for $1 million in the champion slot, so you just gotta go all out, because everyone here is going all out.
It's very difficult to be a team that goes the entire way in a tournament this big and never loses. And so what that means is getting comfortable with taking a big lesson after your loss is going to be important. In fact, maybe necessary to go all the way. And GUANGZHOU Gaming, and when you look at Team Vamos going up against Team FALCONS Meta, there were lessons that were applied to both of those teams. If you guys now were taking a different role, so we're going to be switching out our talent for our next series, what are the lessons that you've learned so far? What are your takeaways after seeing 2 series as we kicked off MSC?
I still think it's a draft. I still think it's how do you look at it in the draft, right? In match number 1, it really just feels like they were leaning too much on identity. They didn't really respect the meta. In match number 2, it's more on the side of, all right, we know the meta. We want to go for damage, but it's just too much, and we don't have anything else to fill in the gaps of the composition.
So in terms of the draft, looks like Eudora as well as Ling is going to be very, very prioritized. But also looking at the game so far, the mistakes is going to be magnified by quite a lot, because Vamos, they saw one mistake where FALCONS made and then they just roll with it. Same as FALCONS here, they saw 1 or 2 mistakes coming in from GUANGZHOU and then they roll with it. That's why even in the interview just now, Super Marco was like, they capitalize on our mistakes, but eventually we waited for them to make a mistake and then we capitalize. So I completely agree with Mirko. The draft is going to be very important, where you can get wins and loses just based off the draft, but also try to minimize those mistakes, because they just make it super big.
A great heads up from 2 guys who talk MLBB for a living. Now let's talk about what's coming up next. For those who are sitting back, relaxing, not doing any work, and just
Vitality
enjoying,
versus True Reapers, bro. Let's go.
If that's the case, then you're scanning that QR code and trying to start your stream up. Team Vitality and True Rippers. This is a true matchup right here. Indonesia coming through, and Team Vitality representing in France. Here in the hometown of Paris, France. This is going to be a big one. Team
Vitality representing France. Indonesia, what is this guy talking about?
Who's going to take the lead and
Seems
win
like he
those
doesn't know
series? You get your
which
pick'ems
team
in. That's right.
Vitality
You go to
is.
esportsworldcup.com/play. You'll have a chance to let us know if you can tell the future in MLBB. And if you can't tell the future and you just want to deal with the present, well, right now there's a pretty cool collaboration that you've been seeing a few teases of in game, and I'm talking about my boy Guile, maybe some Ryu. It's Street Fighter and MLBB.
Human body was built to move, not trapped at a desk in one singular posture for 12 hours a day. It's time your chair evolved. This is Secret Lab Titan Evo. Ergonomically engineered for you, gamers, hybrid workers, artists, backing your every move.
This guy is trying to piss me off.
Round 1.
Thinks he can come in here and play my game. He knows nothing. Let's go!
Tyler 1, you're done.
16 of the best MLBB teams from across the world have traveled to Paris, France for a chance at $1 million and
What's going on?
raising the trophy, cementing themselves in MLBB history, and hopefully a little bit of glory for whoever they're representing. This one is a big one because we've got hometown Team Vitality going up against Indonesia. Incredible stories here to kick off our third series.
Bro, why is this shit doing this now? I don't need this bullshit now. Fuck.
Series of the day, and I want to welcome you back to our studio. My name is Ray.
Why? What is going on? Is it doing this shit?
And I'll be your host here throughout these 2 weeks of MLBB action at EWC. And of course, I'm joined by some amazing faces who know this game, and you know very.
Wait a second. Oh, gee. I don't know why it was acting the way it was acting. What the hell? WC, MSC.
Yeah, Sisyphus. I don't know.
He holds
Alice
the
is the one who holds the world, and
There,
that's what
Sisyphus?
India's going to have to do today.
Why? Bro, I'm not ready for this shit right now. I am not ready.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're the hometown of Team Vitality, but I'm excited for them, and I'm so happy for India to finally be here. Welcome to International MLBB.
I mean, Drex, it's hard not to talk about some of the bigger picture items here before we start getting granular. You mentioned Eudora, but I mean, really for Indonesia, how big is this moment?
Check this.
This is huge, right? I feel like they're coming to a place, not just a place of
All of a sudden, my network is.
we know how strong Indonesia is, but Vitality in general, it's the Cinderella story. What were they? I think they were 6.
I'm about 720. I hope it's not because of the speed. It's acting up. Bro.
What were they? I think they were 6, or they were 5th place coming into. Playoffs, have a lower bracket run, take the championship, and now they're sitting here on the stage of MSC, welcoming India with open arms, ready for this first.
Oh man.
Match
The internet
of
speed
today.
is
I mean, it's a big day for them,
up and down.
and it's a big
Okay, it's
turn.
better now. Dude. Why is this speed like this? I might have to end the stream. No, this shit is acting like this.
Tournament for them, because if they can get great standing in this tournament, if they can win this tournament,
It's not healthy at all. 39 kilobytes per second, 819. What the hell? Might have to restart the stream. Speed tests showing that the MS is terrible. Yeah, I'm gonna restart the stream. Can't trust these people better now.
It's a huge statement, not just for Indonesia, but for Vitality in general.
Yeah, Vitality coming in alongside Indonesia, looking to represent both dreams and contenders. It's not just about getting here, Rimar. It's about what can you do when you get here.
Yeah. Took this bad. Gotta change it, bro. Goodbye.
Both these teams now have their work grounded.
The stream is gone.
A tournament like this can give you the confidence going forward to perform.
Yeah, and for True Rippers walking to the stage, I'm pretty sure they understand the magnitude of the series they're going to be going up against, the competitors across them. But it's good for True Rippers that, yes, they're also representing India. But then they also have two Indonesian imports with them. They have Rehansha and Ians, who both came from Indonesia's development leagues. They're hungry to prove themselves alongside
Still
players in the region who's been
That's
hungry
cool.
for this opportunity.
Yeah, and Team
Thought I was
Vitality also
toast.
just coming in from, you know, having that org represented here in France. That's got to feel big for them. You see the team members on the screen here as well. We actually had a chance, like before, to have some time to speak with Team Vitality's Moreno to talk about what they
I think I
were
have to
feeling
end the
heading
stream.
into today's series.
I'm now with Moreno, the maestro, for his upcoming match. We're gonna talk to him before we get into it.
Yeah,
Moreno, you're
up and
coming
not
here
behind.
with so many fans
Yeah,
and
I
you know
am very well behind.
expectations from the Indonesian fans. How does that feel for you?
A bit heavy, but I just enjoy it as a team. I don't feel the pressure was so high, even though yeah, a little high, but I'm just enjoying. Because it's our first time to go to international as a main five, and as a champion also in our region. That's why we go here with our captain.
Champions from the region. You know, honestly, despite you being champions, it looks like the popularity out there on Europe. Let's get something wrong. How's it feel for you?
Is studying physics and help